Good day, my friends. Happy Wednesday. A little early for most people. It's about 7:30 Eastern time. Today is day one of the 5-day preliminary hearing regarding Tyler Robinson. And I want to tell you right off the bat, you'd better be subscribed and you'd better hit that little bell to ensure that you're going to receive notices of live streams and new videos, because I may go on 3-4 times a day, depending upon what I hear, depending upon what I think is important, and whatever moves me. So make sure you're subscribed. For some reason, some people are not. They'll be subscribed and they will drop off or what have you. This case is not about this week. Erica, Charlie, Tyler to an extent, and it's not about Candace or Tucker or anybody else. It's about justice, probable cause, burden of proof, preliminary hearing, very dry, very specific. Everything else you want to talk about, great, but it has nothing to do with this. It's not about second guessing anybody. It's about, let's look at this, what is happening. Imagine watching a surgery for the first time and you've never seen one. And you're thinking, my God, what are they doing? They say, this is surgery. I didn't know they did that. Well, they do. This is boring. I know. Some stuff is boring. It's going to be very slow, very tedious. And invariably, somebody somewhere is going to play to the camera because people do. That's one of the reasons why I don't like cameras, but I will err on the side of disclosure. The Sixth Amendment to the Constitution demands and requires and ensures that a defendant receive a fair and a speedy and a public trial. And public is important for us to do this. Very, very important for us to do this. Von Angen, thank you, my friend. Thank you for coming alive. Thank you. I'm going to also be coming up. Thank you very much, Olivia. In fact, later on, maybe do a noon as well. It just depends. It just depends. But before we get into this, I want you're going to be so much smarter. You will absolutely be so much smarter. Okay. And you can ask about, why is Erica there? She has a right to be there. She has a right to be there. Let me tell you something right now. From a point of view, if I represented Tyler, I don't know whether it's good or bad that she's there. If she's going to be there, the first thing I would hope that she would do would be, please be Erica. Really lay it on thick. Do your thing. Do your insincere mode. Now, that's a risk. Number one, when people see this, some people do not read through the insincere. They don't see the performative, theatrical crying and moirology and lacrimation on cue, and they don't see that. They see a widow, and that's a risk. Number two, more people than you would imagine see her. She can't be sincere because her feelings have been so kind of on cue and performance-based that I don't know. Does it affect anything? Not really. But it does affect momentum. And momentum definitely affects the zeal and the force and the power and the aggressiveness of the prosecutor. Absolutely, positively, 100%. Now, before we get into that, this is the greatest day for the defense. Why? The purpose of a preliminary hearing is just to show enough evidence so that the judge will say, stop, you have established probable cause, you have enough evidence to go forward. You have enough evidence to go forward. That is it. Have a nice day. Since I think, wasn't Tyler arrested on the 12th, maybe, or the 11th? Maybe the 11th. Let's make it. Let's make it the 11th. It has been so far. Hang on, since 25. Yes, it has been 298 days. 298 days he's been locked up. 298 days. He has no bond, nor should he, not for aggravated murder. I don't expect anybody to have a bond, but 298 days. First rule. What about speedy trial? Well, I promise not to get too much in the weeds, but I'm going to treat you like you were a first-year law student and you want to know more, but I'm not going to go too deep. There have been a series of rules in place when a defendant, a suspect, not even a defendant, because here's the story. I'm going to be stopping and starting. I'm going to drive you crazy because certain rules apply. You're not really a defendant until something is filed. Anything. An information, which is a nice, like a little mini indictment, like a charging document, an indictment, an information, an affidavit, something. You're not really a defendant. Defendant is the state of Utah versus, please get in the weeds. All right, we'll get in the weeds. Thank you. You are a suspect. You were just arrested. That's it. And in order to be arrested, there has to be probable cause that you committed a crime. Arrest versus detention. I'm always going to be doing this. We use these words. If a police officer says, stop for a second, pulls you over in a car, sees you on the street, you're acting suspicious, he provides this thing called a Terry stop. Terry against Ohio. Stop and frisk. That's a detention. What is a detention? You're not free to leave. You're not free to leave. And you are not, this is important, and you are not a defendant. You're not arrested. You're detained. You can't leave. You can't walk away. That's it. If you walk away, then you're arrested for obstruction of justice, obstructing or opposing a police officer, that sort of thing. But just that detention, pulled over by a cop, that's the first time you have some rights that kind of kick in. So what does a police officer have to have just to do that? Reasonable suspicion. And in the case of a traffic stop, the observation of a violation of a traffic ordinance. That's it. Because you are presumed to be able to stop somebody and detain them when you give them a ticket. Give me your name, license, registration. You're detained. You can't take off. You're not free to go. That's it. What if you don't give your name? In the old days, it was like, oh, well, now that's a separate charge. That's a separate charge. And what the best part is, the most important part about this is when you do that, if somebody says, I'm not going to tell you, I'm a sovereign citizen. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hold you in jail, and we're going to book you as a John Doe. And we're going to find out how long, we're going to find out who you are. Maybe we'll take fingerprints, but we're going to just hold you there. And it might be a little long. Why? Because, well, you're not being cooperative. We can't let you go because we don't know who you are and you won't tell us. So the stupidest thing people can do is not tell a cop who they are in a traffic case. Just like it's also stupid not to sign the ticket. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. If you don't sign the ticket, I can take you in. I'm going to arrest you. Because you're not even acknowledging you received the ticket. People are so stupid. So again, weed time, back to reality. That's just detention. just holding somebody. When you have a reasonable suspicion that a crime is being committed, was committed, or is about to be committed. That's that first level. Traffic stop, Terry stop. Again, Terry versus Ohio. Terry stop, stop and frisk. Just stopping somebody. Reasonable suspicion. Detention. Now, arrest. Now you're in custody, detained, plus, this is always additive, plus, for the purposes of charging you with a crime. Now you're arrested. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to book you. I'm going to physically seize you. You're going to be booked. You're going to be printed. You are now in the system. If it's a misdemeanor, you might be able to be released on the scene without booking and all that. I may not need to physically take you into custody, but that's an arrest. An arrest is another thing too. Is it cuffs? Is it that sort of thing? In order to stop somebody, when you stop and you give somebody a misdemeanor ticket, a misdemeanor charge, could be something where a lot of times, sometimes things, for example, battery has to be, in some cases, committed in the presence of a police officer, except for domestic. So what they do is they'll give you a referral. They send it to the prosecutor. You're not really arrested. There's a lot of gray areas, You got the ticket, you've got some summons, a notice to appear. But arrest is a classic. Go up and put your hands behind your back, put your hands like they're praying. Boom. When you are arrested, they do not have to explain anything. You have no rights. The rights are, people say, you don't have to be told specifically what it is you're being charged with. You don't have to be read Miranda rights. They love this all the time. Everybody says, you didn't read my rights. You didn't read me my rights, because people have watched television for so long that they believe this is some kind of an incantation. Like you almost demand. It's like, don't I get my rights read? Do you know your rights? Yeah. Well, why do you want them read? Because I want to hear that. I don't know why. And the only requirements for Miranda, again, always think linear, is custody plus interrogation. At the police academy, I used to teach C plus I equals M. Custody plus interrogation. You got to be in custody, you can't be free to leave, and you got to be interrogated about the crime, not how do you think, what do you think about the World Cup? How about that? How about those Yankees? No. If nobody's asking you a question about the case, you don't need to be read rights. So anyway, so that's the arrest part. That's probable cause. So we go from reasonable suspicion to probable cause. A little bit more. I've never been able to explain this to people. Is it a seesaw? Is it probable cause is defined as those collective facts which, when presented to a neutral detached magistrate, lead a reasonable person to believe that a crime was committed. Okay, that's nice. What does that mean? Well, it means the best definition I ever heard of probable cause is he probably did it. I swear to God, it's the best. We joke about it, but it's true. So reasonable suspicion, probable cause. More weeds, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. This is the most important thing. I'm going to do it again for you. We have other burdens. Proof evident, presumption, great, clear and convincing, reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt's up to here. That's seesaw, Oh, preponderance of the evidence. That's for civil cases. I mean, what does this mean? What does this mean? I don't know. I mean, I know, but I don't know. Humans don't work like this. If I said to you, what'd you have for breakfast? You said bagel and a schmear and coffee. Okay, prove it. Based on a reasonable suspicion. Prove it based upon, I want probable cause to believe you. Well, a receipt? Prove that you ate that based upon the preponderance of the evidence. What does that mean? Is it more likely than not that you had bagel with a schmear and coffee? Prove you had that beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know. Witnesses, they imply an increasing level of proof, but people really don't make these distinctions. Probable cause, they just, did you do it? He did it, that kind of thing. So We love to play a lot of fictional stuff in law. It's fiction. It's nice. It sounds good, but the human brain cannot really do this. Do you love me? Yes. Tell me beyond a reasonable doubt. What? Tell me based upon the preponderance of the evidence. Is it more likely than not that you love me? We don't think like that. Okay, back to Tyler. Probable cause. The question that I even asked Barron about this, the one that I don't get. Why didn't they impanel a grand jury like that? A grand jury, the petit jury, P-E-T-I-T, not P-E-T-T-Y, but the petit, gros, the French petit conjunction, just kidding, petit jury, the jury you normally think about in the courtroom, 6 or 12, depending upon what it is. That's the petit jury, trier of fact, cases, trials. The grand jury, is this great idea where these civilians act as a buffer, as a review that separates the sovereign, the government, from the citizen. They say, wait a minute, hold it. What do you got there, bucko? What do you got there, flatfoot? Well, we have a murder case. Well, let's see about this. Let's see. Do we think you have enough? Well, put your case on. Do you have probable cause? Again, probably did it. And the grand jury always rubber stamps. That's the funny part about this. I'll tell you more about that, but hear me out. The grand jury then says, yep, you've got enough, and they issue a true bill. When they say you don't have enough, they issue a no true bill. More about that later. Why is that important? The reason why is, had the prosecutors in this Utah case gone to a grand jury, and again, I mentioned this to Barron, I don't understand this, there would be no need for the preliminary hearing. No need for this today. None. This is establishing probable cause. What are they doing? Why? You had the probable cause. I read to you that little affidavit for the arrest. It's just the great Saul Wachtler, one of the greatest jurists and a great friend of mine. Love him to death. One time coined one of the most wise jurists ever. Was talking and speaking with Marcia Kramer from CBS, WCBS here in New York. And he said something to the effect, a prosecutor, a skilled prosecutor, could indict a ham sandwich. And it's funny, he being a proud Jew said, I think I could have said pastrami or corned beef. He said, no, ham sandwich. That's his line. He said that, Saul Wachtler. That's his line. It's been quoted forever. Out of all the things he's ever said, that's the one. Just like when people say, like a wise man once said, keep your enemies close and your friends close and your enemies closer, whatever it is. Mario Puzo said that, the Godfather. They think it's somehow Cicero said that. So you can indict a ham sandwich. Back to reality. What's the problem today? I would tell the prosecutor, you're showing the defense everything you've got. You're showing the world everything you've got. Yeah. Why? Surprise them. Ambush them within reason. Give the defense everything they need under the discovery rules, under the Supreme Court case of Brady against Maryland, 1963 case. When you talk about Brady material, that means I've got to give you every bit of exculpatory evidence that you need and that you would want and that most people would think you'd want. For example, if my main witness against you is a 7 times convicted serial killer escapee, I've got to tell you that. I can't just put this guy on and say, I hope they don't ask who he is because he's a serial killer. No. I've got to give you arrest records. I've got to tell you everything. Why? Remember this. Take a note, class. The prosecutor's job is not conviction, but justice. The prosecutor works on behalf of the government. It's the state of Utah or the county or the people or the Commonwealth, depending upon how it is. The United States versus in federal case. In criminal cases, the victim is the state. By the way, exculpatory means that which benefits you. Inculpatory would be evidence that proves your guilt. Exculpatory is something that removes guilt. It allows you to avoid it. Not admonishes. It absolves you. It benefits you. It goes to your freedom. It gives you a defense. If nobody was able, for example, to ID you in a lineup, I've got to tell you that because that exonerates you. Exculpatory exonerates you. It helps you. But if I don't tell you that, and I'm the only one who knows this, I'm violating my law, my duty to deliver justice, not to get a conviction. It's the state. The state is the victim, not the person. I hate to say this. Charlie Kirk is not the victim. Erica is not the victim. It's the people of Utah or Orem County or whatever it is. That's the victim. That's why, ladies, if you ever go to, if you're involved in a domestic case and your husband or boyfriend slaps you around and he gets you to go to the prosecutor to drop charges, if the prosecutor doesn't want to, the prosecutor can say, sorry, we're going ahead with this. And you say, excuse me, I'm the victim. No, you're not. You're the witness. You're the witness to our victimization. Yeah, you've got a black eye and yeah, you're hurt, but we're the victim. I know it's a strange concept, but in civil cases, it's this person versus that person, this corporation versus that corporation, or this person versus that corporation, individual, personal. Criminal, it's the government, federal, state, local, whatever it is, versus this person, a defendant, period, defendant. In the criminal case, the state is really the plaintiff, so to speak. You get into some weird stuff too. When you get into juvenile case, I don't want to muddy it up, but sometimes you can say it's the petitioner, the respondent, in re, Tommy Robinson, a child. I mean, it's weird. Juvenile is a whole other thing. That's delinquency versus crime. Anyway, forget that. So we got it so far. Let me go back and recap. The prosecution today has to absolutely, positively, this is the most important thing, has to make sure that it gives just enough evidence to establish probable cause, and that's it. Has to tell everybody, but it doesn't want to show their hand. It doesn't want to show their hand. Remember this guy named Dennis Fung? Dennis Fung was during the OJ case. He was a criminologist. He was the worst witness anybody's ever seen before. He had a shaky voice. They go, oh, my God. The defense wouldn't have known that. The defense said, oh, my God. I mean, they could have just handed over Dennis Fung's report and finding, but no, he had to testify. They didn't have a preliminary hearing, but the point is, everything you're going to see, warts and all. Why? Why didn't you have a grand jury? We wouldn't have to be there. Probable cause would have been established. We move on. I do not understand. I do not get it. I tried to research. Is there something about Utah procedure? Nothing really. This assumes law works as intended and isn't corrupt. Law is very, very good. Law is often absolutely not corrupt. And 99% of the time, it is so flat-footed and plain, and that guy hits that guy's charged. If you're the victim, however, you're going to always see something wrong. If you're the defendant, you're going to see something wrong. But I'm here to tell you, and I will tell you otherwise, this idea that everything's corrupt, 99, again, I keep saying 99% of all the cops are good. The arrests are solid. They have nothing to do with race or none of it. There are some that do, of course. It's a human endeavor. But it's very easily to get into this kind of a theme that it's all corrupt. It's very efficient. Why? Because 99, there's that number again, 99 of all cases are pled to. They don't even go to trial. If tomorrow morning everybody in the United States decided that they were going to go to trial, they'd say, we plead not guilty, we're going to go to trial, the system would stop. It would stop, it would collapse. So that's it. Okay. So today we're going to hear all this week, all of this stuff. Now, should Tyler's lawyers cross-examine? I don't know. I wouldn't say it. Just take note, because you're getting discovery like you can't believe. You know, all this discovery that people swear they're going to get, like, I hope he sues me because I'll be able to get discovery, which is stupid. I don't know why people say that. You don't want to be sued at all. But this is the discovery you can't believe. They're under oath. And whatever those witnesses say, they're locked in. Detective Fulbright, remember the preliminary hearing? Yes. Remember when you were asked whether you had found the Mauser 98? Yes. Remember when you said, and we have it right here in the transcript, remember when you said, no, I never found it? Yes. And yet today, under oath, you say you found it. Yes. Now, were you lying then or are you lying now? Oh. Why? Because you locked them in. I've got this transcript, all these witnesses, they're going to be talking. They might not understand the case. They might change their mind. And people are going to be looking at this. Now, there are folks who believe, and this is very, very critical, they believe that Tyler is guilty. Let me explain to you something from my past, my broadcasting past. Number one, I come to you as a trial lawyer, not as a friend of Candace, a friend of Charlie, an enemy of Erica. No. No. It's like I'm a home pregnancy test. Why, if you want to see your home is pregnant? I have no idea. You shake it up, you go, oh, look, it says you're pregnant. How dare you? Excuse me, I call it, I'm reading a result. I don't even know who this is. She's 10 years old. I don't know how old she is. I'm reading this result. That's all. I'm a radiologist. The leg is broken. The leg is not broken. That's a fracture. That's not a fracture. That's it. That's all I'm doing. How dare you? And you know, this poor girl will never be able to play again. I'm reading the x-ray. That's all I'm doing. Okay? No. There were two cases in particular. Once, when I was on a TV station and I said that Casey Anthony, remember her? Remember Casey Anthony? Remember Kaylee Anthony, her little daughter, found that beautiful child? And that mother most certainly did it. I mean, absolutely. But I said she's going to be found not guilty because there's no way you're going to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there was even a homicide. Why? Because they found a skull, a skull. And there was no sign of anything, any trauma, or there's nothing. And there's no way you're going to find anybody guilty because of that, period. End of discussion. And I was right. And people got all upset. Oh, you think this was acceptable? Oh, you're for her? No, I'm not for her. I'm telling you. She's going to be found not guilty because of this fact. Period. Second one was George Zimmerman. Remember Trayvon Martin? I said George Zimmerman will be found not guilty. They went berserk. They thought I was a racist. I'm telling you. Why? Because they know about Florida stand your ground law. And that's the way it is. There's reasonable doubt as this, and that's it. And I was right. 100%. I was right. It's not because I wanted to be. Now, let's jump ahead. Right now, and I'll be watching this with you, and also remember this. This is the most important. Remember, very important. We'll probably be doing throughout the day, maybe one at noon, maybe one at night. If I think something has happened, I'll make a note of it. I may just open up these, the line, so to speak. So make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you hit that little bell so all of a sudden you go, oh, he's going live, because I just may think, I think we need to go live. Got it? Okay. This right now, as it is, barring any surprise where I say, oh, and if something changes where I say, you know what, they got this guy, they're going to nail him. I didn't know about this. I will tell you. So get ready. You got to believe me. If I tell you, I think we can argue all day about Erica, is she this, is Candace this? That's just opinion. When it comes to the legal part of it, I'll tell you what I think. And right now, if what I suspect, if what's been presented to me is pretty much going to be the way it is, Tyler Robinson will be found not guilty because they will not be able to establish beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. And sometimes they'll say within the degree of moral certainty, whatever that is. We got a problem. And I told you before, the rifle, the lint brush. Brasileira mia, Carla says, trials are not predictable. We must have competency, hopefully. You are right about that, and thank you. They're not predictable, but they're also, Carla, as you know, they're not predictable for a number of reasons. Number one, the presentation. A witness doesn't come through. Or the case was kind of to begin with, and you had to go through with it anyway. Sometimes there are cases where if you're a defense lawyer, you have to go to trial if it's criminal because it's a 3 strikes, you're guilty, 3 strikes, you're out, or some kind of habitual felony offender, or they're asking for the death penalty. We got to go to trial because I can't plead guilty. If we enter a plea, they're offering us nothing. By the way, don't be surprised if at the end of this, they say to Tyler, you know what? How about if we'll reduce this to manslaughter or a non-capital murder, and you do 25 to life, and he who knows? Like I said, they may have evidence we don't know about. His lawyer may say, take that deal. I don't know. Don't rule that out. It could be complete acquittal, conviction, or a plea, something that kind of satisfies everybody. I'm not feeling real strong about this defense team, and let me qualify that. I don't know diddly about the evidence. I don't even know who the prosecutors are. I've not read anything. I don't know anything. I'm just standing outside the stadium, listening to the roar of the crowd and trying to guess the score. That's all I'm doing. It's very imprecise. I just think I wish they'd be a little bit more aggressive. Today, when you have a case like this, you better go really hard in social media within the realm of allowable. Sometimes in some jurisdictions, there are gag rules. In federal courts, for example, they say you can't talk about this thing, period. But I would make this case, if I could, and it was ethical and legal, and I would drive these prosecutors crazy where they say, we got to dump this case. Why? Because this prosecutor is going to run for office again. Remember, these prosecutors, most of the time, they run for office. That's one of the problems. That's one of the political considerations. And I'm going to tell them is that I will stink this up so much. You will be the person who blew the case. You were the one. Marcia Clark, Christopher Darden in the O.J. Simpson case, they were never heard from again. They were done. They were done because they lost. And so there's that element as well. So he can be convicted, he can be acquitted, or he takes a plea. I'm just not hearing anything. I remember one time reading something where all their thing is the death penalty, the death penalty. They're experts in the death penalty. You know who was good at that? Ted Kaczynski's lawyer. There's a woman, I forgot her name. She got them to waive the death penalty. For Ted Kaczynski, that was a good one. You try to get a penalty waived for Ted Bundy, there are lawyers who just do that. All they deal with are guilty, convicted defendants. They're great. We had this thing called capital collateral appeals. These lawyers, they made nothing. They were the best lawyers anybody's ever seen. Public defenders, They are great. I mean, there's exceptions, but people always say, oh, is that legal aid? Are you kidding? This guy's in there every day in courtroom. This is a trial warrior, knows everything. Judge knows him. They know. Remember, if ever you are in some city or something and you need a lawyer, get the guy who's at the courthouse. When he walks in, the bailiff says, morning, Jerry. Morning, Dave. Or the clerk say, morning, Jerry. Morning, Eileen. How's your son? Ask somebody in a courtroom, if your son was arrested, who would you call? They say, oh, this one. Because they're there all the time. Ask the prosecutors. When Mike Tyson was in, is it Indianapolis? Don't hold me to that, but they got some New York lawyer. Oh, no. You want somebody who's got the twang and somebody who has a familiarity. You don't know how these people play. The role of the lawyer is critical. If you trust me, if I don't embellish stuff, but if you trust me, and we have an arrangement, so to speak, which is what my clients called an arraignment. I'm going to the arrangement. It's like, well, maybe you were right. It's like years ago, the no contest plea. I heard, I plead no comment. I like that. Or I plead no conscience, which I like that. Another one was no context. That was a good one. Guilty with an explanation. I love that one. One time in Manatee County, I heard somebody who was charged with, it wasn't my case, but I heard somebody was charged with not carrying flotation devices on their boat. He pled insanity. That was a good one. Anyway, this is going to be important. Now, that was profound. I said that. This is going to be important. Write that down. I don't know about the defense lawyer. I don't know. I'm sure they're great. But if their whole thing is Tyler Robinson ain't going to get the death penalty, ain't going to happen. You can forget it. There's nothing heinous about this. I mean, we haven't even gotten into the facts of the case. So my emphasis is not necessarily for experts in avoiding the death penalty, though that's certainly a consideration. I want a lawyer, who is a trial warrior, who knows what he's doing, who goes after the evidence of the case. Remember, for the jury. Now, what happens if a jury is watching this? What happens if some potential juror is watching this now? Do juries know? Oh, yeah. Do juries know? Yeah. I mean, very rarely will somebody, how do I say this? Very rarely will somebody be so tainted. I was in a jury one time where, as a juror, potential, I had a hard time being detached because the defendant was charged with murder. I saw the video of him killing the guy. It's there it is. And I thought to myself, unless you've got a serious ID problem, like, well, that's not him. I'm thinking, I don't want to kid you. That's it. There's no defense. Not even, guy walked up, boom, and I'm wondering, why is this even in trial? And I didn't want to say anything in front of the rest of the jury. Like, I don't think I can. But normally I can be very, very objective, because I can listen to the facts and say, well, you didn't prove it. But in this case, we haven't even got to the actual facts yet. Now, listen carefully. There's two things we want to pay attention to: the evidence, and we will have a list. We will have the listing of all of the evidence they plan to put on. And then they're going to give too much. I read one of the local news stories. They showed everything they're going to present. And it's like, oh no, it's too extensive. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you showing your hand? Why are you showing your hand? We used to have a judge who held preliminary hearings like this. His name was Harry Coe. We called him Hangin' Harry. I loved him. Division A. And I knew Pam Bondi later worked with him when she was with the state attorney's office. And Harry Coe was absolutely the most. He was famous. He would give black first-time defendants probation. He didn't care. He gave everybody a chance. But if you violated probation, he'd break it off in you. I mean, he was brutal. This was his preliminary hearing. Excuse me, ma'am. Yeah. Is that the guy who stabbed you? Yeah. All right. That's it. I find probable cause. That's it. What are we doing? But these people are going to go on. All right. Exhibit A. What do we have? This is the shell casing. Don't bring the shell casing. Why are you going to bring the shell casing? He wrote, who do you need this for? What is the element of that? What is probable cause for aggravated murder? That the defendant, that is Tyler Robinson. That Tyler Robinson on September the 10th, 2025, did kill whatever, Charlie Kirk. Now, let me give you the remotest of possibilities, which is even crazier, but it could happen. If this was a real judge, and I'm not saying they're not, I know nothing about Utah judges, who himself or herself, I think it's him, who's not running for re-election. If I said, Your Honor, may it please the court, how can you, with all due respect, sir, find probable cause when the rifle, the gun, the death implement is in no way pursuant to the own, and I'm going to read this, maybe we'll find out specifically what the ATF said. But how can you find probable cause when you can't even link the weapon? How? And if you can't link the weapon, there is no case. How did he murder Charlie? With his thoughts? With his magic? How? Theoretically, you can say, you're right, I don't find probable cause, that's it. So you just release him. I mean, you can go in, you can try your very best. Do we have trolls here, ladies? Who are they? Who are they? Who are the trolls? By the way, we have the moderation process. I've tried to go long enough, but there's always somebody who comes in, ruins our good time. Who are they? Call them out. Come on. Let's go. Who is it? Point them out. Let's have vigilante justice. Who are they? Let me know. That's the problem. We always have somebody. Now, there are people who are just going crazy because they think this is about Candace or this is about, I don't know what. They think this is, and you're going to find something. Somebody says his car was seen in the parking lot, but it wasn't him. Maybe there was a person, by the way. Okay. By the way, I wish somebody would tell. Okay. Oh, Pony Boy. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Pony Boy. Candace made it about herself. All right. All right. There we go. That's a good. Who else? Just let me know. And by the way, I mean free speech, but just it distracts her. Who else? Anybody else? Pony Boy. We won't be seeing Pony for a while. It's like let's say Paulie from The Godfather. Who else? Anybody else? Okay. Let me know. Just, and seriously, absolutely, positively, we love people, but it's like, don't. There are people who we really want to talk about this. We really want to talk about it. That's all. We just, and it's just whatever it is. Anyway, the people right now are going to be watching this, and I swear to God, they won't know. Somebody says my Facebook feed really wants Robinson to get the death penalty. Makes me suspicious. I think you're knowing something. I think maybe you're going to see something. There are people. This is artificial. This is artificial. This is just not real. These are people who, for whatever reason, just feel that they hate him. And it takes nothing. In history, somebody had to say, okay, you see those people? Yeah, those are the Jews. Get them. And people said, okay. Those are the gypsies. Those are the commies. Those are the communists. Those are the anarchists. Those are the gay people. Whatever it is, get them. And this is a part of the lynch mob mentality. This is Gustave Le Bon. We get them here. And then people love to sit there because they have no, it's just fun. Kill them. It's professional wrestling. Heels and babyface. Candace was on, and she said that she doesn't believe it was Tyler at all that was there. And there was this other jadrul. Last night there was this guy, I forget his name, Palumbo or something. He didn't know anything. I mean, he just couldn't believe that people would do this, and we went through it. There's another guy too. I told you about the fellow who said that I'm a government agent or something, or that I should be taken to the pound and basically euthanized or something. That's pretty good. Brasileira Mia says, how can we trust the FBI to contribute to the cause independently, clearly and truthfully? We can't. Now with this organization, now with Kash Patel, nope. Now, what will happen? There are people who just remember this. This goes back to, this is all going to be, this is the most important. This is the most important. These are the people who are just unable to understand how our system works, and they just figure that because Tyler's been charged, he must have done it. Now remember, we don't know anything yet. This is most important. We don't know anything yet. We don't know anything yet. We don't know. I hope they say all of a sudden, well, we don't need the roommate Lance, the furry lesbian trans. We don't need Lance. Okay. Why don't you need Lance? Well, you don't have to. Now, does that mean at trial the defense can't call Lance? Oh, absolutely. This is a preliminary hearing. They just have to establish probable cause. They may eliminate police officers that they might call at trial but aren't necessary here. I hope they do. I think they're going to do overkill. They're going to give too much information. And if the defense is smart, they're going to be notified. Remember this guy. Remember this guy. That's the guy we want. Because I promise you, that office did not, how do I say this? That office did not vet and call these witnesses. Here's some good questions. Sir Lionel, can Tyler Robinson's parents speak to him? Any communications at all? Oh, absolutely. Certainly they can. He can have visitors. He can have, it could be arranged, but certainly. They can talk to him. They can raise money for him. They can, yeah, absolutely. Now, will they be able to testify at, I don't think anybody's going to call him at trial. If they do, you don't want to call parents. That's not a good idea. Is there a parental privilege? No, absolutely not. Rhonda says, I honestly believe TPUSA security, perhaps with our greatest ally, in my opinion. I don't know. I honestly believe TPUSA security, perhaps with our greatest ally. I don't know what that means. That's a very strange thing. Very, very, that TPUSA. I don't know where they're going to get. Now, do you think it's a good idea for Charlie's parents? Here's what I want to watch. This has nothing to do with the case, by the way. This is interpersonal. Watch all of a sudden if there's any communication between Erica and Charlie's parents. I suspect this is the legal, take the legal hat off. This is just, I suspect that Erica and Charlie's parents have had no contact at all sad to say. So watch what happens. Will Erica at some point get, if they are, I don't know if they're going to call her as a witness. Here's a rule too you got to understand. It's called the rule. And whenever you hear this, Your Honor, we invoke the rule. This is called the rule of sequestration. Anybody who plans to testify cannot be in the courtroom now. So that means if they're planning on calling Erica, she can't be sitting in there. Now remember, there's no jury there. The judge is listening to this. So why is Erica going to be there? I don't know. In many respects, I think it's understandable. I'm going to say this again to you. We always have to start off with these articles of faith. Number one, I have nothing against her. I have nothing against Erica Kirk. Nothing. I have nothing against Erica Kirk. This is the part which is the most important to say. And this is something which I wish I could say more to people who don't really grasp this, because it's very difficult for some people to understand this. And this is something which, again, I enjoyed this case very thoroughly. But before anybody begins any kind of review of this, I have the following. The criminal case has nothing to do with what I think about anybody. It has nothing to do with what I think about Erica Kirk. It has nothing to do with what I feel about Charlie or what I feel about Candace. It's nothing. There's nothing to do with it. Nothing. And absolutely nothing to do. But just to go down the list, I am telling you right now that in my opinion, there will not be enough evidence to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that Tyler Robinson killed anybody. Anybody. Now, did you hear what I said? Not that he didn't shoot anybody, not that he didn't kill anybody, not that he wasn't there, not that he hated Charlie, not that he's a bad dude who maybe has done terrible things in the past. Don't know about that. In this particular framework, this very specific framework, this very, very simple framework, in this case, September the 10th, last year, they will not be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. That's it. And it is so obvious, unless, and I say this repeatedly, I say this again to the point of exhaustion, but I say it nonetheless, unless there is something there we don't know, something really big. In my experience, in my life, in my professional civilian, I've asked friends of mine, I said, have you ever heard of a murder prosecution where you can't, either you don't have a weapon, you don't know the means of death, gunshot, strangulation, burking, whatever it is, or that the weapon that you have cannot be connected? The answer is no. How can you go forward if that's true? Now, there may be something later on that we knew nothing about, some ATF report that was really, really, that links somehow. That's step one. And again, Your Honor, how can you find probable cause? You never hear this. I've never heard of somebody being charged. Tyler Robinson, you murdered Charlie Kirk. How? I don't know. I'm leaning towards gun, but wait a minute, what? Normally, it's very simple. There's this, they find the weapon. Sometimes they stipulate, meaning the defense will say, we'll agree that's the weapon. This round, this bullet that was fired, this round, the round that was taken from the body of the victim matches ballistically. Look at the grooves and the grooves and the channels and all of these little patterns, and they ballistically match perfectly between that gun which was found at the scene, that was on the defendant's person, that had his handprints on it, and the blood of the defendant. That gun fired the bullet that was found in the defendant and killed him. I mean, that's like, geez, that's the way it is all the time. All the time. Now, sometimes it gets a little hinky. Sometimes, in the case of Lee Harvey Oswald, if you have a frangible bullet, which many, many people believe that Lucien Sarti, the actual badge man, the unnamed, reputed, suspected assassins, but the bullet will blow up upon, impact. But for the most part, or somebody's there. In the case here, did they take any GSR, gunshot residue? Let's assume they didn't. You don't have a gun. You didn't even take gunshot residue. Maybe they did. Remember, everything I'm saying can be completely confounded by evidence that we find out later on. But there's no gun. There's no GSR. Is there anything else? What about, did he admit to it? No. So why is he the defendant? Why? Well, because he said he hated Charlie. Yeah, okay, well, that's not exactly, unfortunately, rare. What else? That he didn't like Charlie's thoughts regarding trans. Okay. Anything else? Now, I haven't even gone there. I said, but Your Honor, we're not done yet. At the preliminary hearing, the rifle, the Mauser 98, purported to be the instrument of death, purported to be, good sir, purported to be the instrument of death. This man, this was not even fired. According to the testimony of the folks, you had gun detection dogs, the best of the best, who can smell, pardon the expression, a fish fart. And they were unable to find that weapon because, sir, it wasn't fired. It was not fired within 100 years or 50 years or whatever the residue period of time is. So you don't have a weapon that you can connect. And the weapon that has his DNA on it, and by the way, it's his rifles, and there's about 5 other people's DNA. Did we find out who those people were? No, we don't know. Interesting. Anybody interested in that? No? All right. So that can't be flamed. So there's no gun. There's no gunshot residue. There's no evidence it was even shot. And, Your Honor, let's hope we get to this. This is what I'd love to do. I don't know what your favorite evidence is. I want the medical examiner. Did you find any evidence? Did you find any evidence in the wound? Did you dissect the neck area? What did you find? Did you put it in a bag? Are we able to analyze this? What is this? That's what we found. What is it? What if there is clear, obvious, oh, that's metal. That's from a bullet. We can see that. Everybody see that? Oh, yeah. Could be. Or we found this stuff in there. What is it? Well, we're not sure. It seems to be plastic in nature, or glass, or metallic, or that's odd. Very interesting. So let's assume we put it all together. No gun, no gunshot residue, no evidence it was even fired, and the wound contains elements, contains stuff contains stuff that's not even connected to bullets, or we don't even know what it is. Now, again, assume if, what, who knows? Who knows? But we don't have this stuff. Now, later on, if it's possible that this thing even goes to trial, and it very well might, if it goes to trial, you're going to have to ask this question. Will they be able to even reference the rifle? What do I mean? There's something called a motion in limine, Limine. And that is where a court says you cannot even mention something. You can't mention it. It is too prejudicial. If somebody can show, if absolutely somebody can show that there was no rifle that can be proved or linked, that there was no testing of Charlie whatsoever, if the DNA really means nothing, let's just say that there's nothing to connect this rifle. Not only do you have nothing to introduce, the court may say you can't even mention it. You cannot mention it. So the jury's going to sit there and say, how did I kill him? I don't know. Why would the judge say, okay, you can mention something that wasn't linked? We also found a bazooka there, Your Honor. You can mention the bazooka too. It had Charlie's fingerprints on it. Wait a minute, excuse me. Why are you mentioning a bazooka? Well, it was there, but it had nothing to do with the murder. Well, never said it did. Excuse me. What? There was something called 403 evidence. And 403 evidence is from the evidence code, 403. And many states will adopt the federal rules of evidence as their own and even have the same numbers. It might be 90.4, it was always 90.403. And that is when information, data, evidence, which is relevant, which has some probative or provable value, has a tendency to completely inflame a jury or confuse a jury, it can be withheld. Let me give you an example. Whenever there's the case of murder, somebody has to identify the defendant. Well, believe it or not, you've got, and this sounds silly, but it's important. You've got to prove that Charlie Kirk is dead. Do you hear me? Charlie Kirk is dead, which is tough sometimes when they don't find a body. That really gets weird. Think about this. Somebody just doesn't show up and you're charging him with a body. It's happened before, but there's no body. But they're okay. So you got to prove Charlie Kirk is dead. That the person that they claim was on that, I hate to say it, on that slab, that's Charlie Kirk. Now, how do you know that? How do you know? Sometimes there's like a John Doe. You find a vagrant. You find somebody who's dead, but it's decomposition. We don't know. We don't know who the person is. But usually somebody says, yep, that's him. And you have a dentist who can do a dental forensic dentistry report. They can look at the molars and look at this and bridge work or whatever it is. You then have somebody who's taken fingerprints. They've taken fingerprints of the deceased and they've run them through NCIC, and lo and behold, that's the person. Or somebody knows that person. And in the old days, before 403 came along, or statutes like that, they would take the mother, this poor mother, and they would say, ma'am, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 1 for identification. Do you know who this is? And it's the worst picture of their beloved son, blood and this, and just horrible, but identifiable. The woman screams, she cries, she's let out of the courtroom, and the jury looks at that, says, if that son of a bitch, if you think he did it, that's all we need to know. We're going to get him. That poor woman, and the courts realize, wait a minute, this is your tendency to to be repetitive, to inflame, where the probative value, the ability to prove, is outweighed by the tendency to inflame and to be prejudicial. So all of this stuff has to be weighed. But the bottom line is simply this. If there's a jury, and they're going to keep telling people this, if you're a jury, said, what are we supposed to find him guilty with murder? With what? You can forget about anything else. With what? Guilty with what? Well, his magical powers. Wait a minute. Did he use a weapon? I think they said Charlie was shot or something. Are you saying that he was responsible for this next thing? Yeah. Well, with what? Well, we can't tell you. Why? Well, because you see, the rifle that we thought was his, well, we can't really link it, but we're going to go ahead anyway with the trial. Go ahead with what? What are we going to do? I keep asking people, if the judge says you can't bring up this weapon, why you can't connect it? What if there was a bloody knife? What if there was a bloody knife found at the scene? What difference does that make? Charlie wasn't killed with a bloody knife, but let's assume you see it. Can we mention that? No. Why? Because it has nothing to do with it. Well, this is a rifle. Charlie was hit by something, and that ain't a 30-06. And if it ever got to the point, now remember, preliminary hearing, this is just probable cause. Probable cause. That's all it is. Is there probable cause? 5 days, I'm telling you, overkill. You should have had that in 1 day. This, and this. Charlie Kirk was killed. That's Charlie Kirk. He shot him. That's it. Probable cause. That's it. He confessed. And by the way, throw in, remember this, everything that gets into the preliminary hearing may be destroyed in trial. He didn't confess. That's okay. That's enough. You can get to cross-examine him later. Because remember, all I'm trying to do is probable cause. Yeah, but I can show, Your Honor, that the Discord message, according to Baron Coleman, God bless Baron Coleman determined that the Discord note was made after he was Mirandized. And the judge will say, I don't know what you're talking about. This is a probable cause hearing. You'll get to talk about that at trial. You're not going to impeach the witness. You're not going to tear him apart. You're not going to, no. You will be able to talk about where's the weapon. That's a good one. That's the one I can't figure out. I'm thinking, how is it? So you asked the question, are courts corrupt? My nose is, are courts corrupt? Not really. But I got to ask this time, what the hell is this all about? Then we get to the notion of the confession. Oh, and remember, they're just sitting. This would be me the whole time. No questions, Your Honor. No questions. Thank you. Aren't you going to cross-examine him? Nope. Aren't you going to cross-examine him? Nope. Why? Why am I going to cross-examine this person? Why am I going to tip off to the prosecution where my attack's going to be? Why am I taking the chance that I might ask a question that this fellow might say, hey, wait a minute, it's a good point. Let me clarify that. Why would I do that? Why? No further questions. Thank you. This is a preliminary hearing. Thank you. Just make a note of that. Write that down. See that witness? Yeah, we're going to tear him a new one when he gets out of here. This guy doesn't know anything. Write this down. And you get to see, it's like, this is their case? This is their case? And remember, the 12th of September, November. This is only because they didn't go to a grand jury. I don't understand this. Let me say this again. Had they gone to a grand jury, run this thing through, the grand jury issues a true bill, the indictment is rendered a true bill, he is indicted, he is, charged. That's it. We wait and we go straight to trial. But because they didn't do this, because they didn't establish probable cause independently through a grand jury where the jury determines probable cause. Let me just say this again, because sometimes I say things and I think it's clear and it may not be, because this is alien stuff. When you have a grand jury issue an indictment, they've by its very nature determine there's probable cause. Absolutely. So there's no need for this. Why are we going through this? Now, how do you handle Erica? How do they handle Erica? Let me give you a version of this kind of in reverse. When you have the defendant's mother, let's say you're a prosecutor, and you say, she testifies, my son was with me, my son didn't do this, my son couldn't have done that, and you're the prosecutor, and you got this poor woman, somebody's mom. Do you cross-examine? Probably not. But if you do, you say the following. Mrs. Johnson, yes. You love your son. Isn't that right? Yes. And you wouldn't want to see anything bad happen to him, now would you? No, I wouldn't. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. No, nothing further, Your Honor. And always ask them, thank you. We want to thank you for coming. She was subpoenaed. Jerry Spencer do this. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. But I have nothing from this fine woman. You may go. Oh, what a nice guy. It's like I'm in charge of this. Brasileira says, I trust the courts and not the three-letter agency. I believe that could be an enormous burden to overcome. We'll see. Now, let me just say something to you, and you bring up a good point. The three-lettered agencies are fantastic. They have done wonderful things. The FBI crime lab, in finding hairs or doing analysis, absolutely. I am not in any way going to attack or say anything about the men and women on the field, in the field. Never. They're great. I've known some of the best FBI agents and the best. Bank robberies, kidnappings, federal stuff, forest crimes, interstate, stolen goods, and fantastic. Wonderful. They're not part of this 7th floor of the FBI. They're in the Cash Patel. Let me make sure we understand something. Cops, even the agency, and even though it has nothing to do with this, the CIA have done wonderful jobs preventing a lot of stuff you'll never hear about, because there are people who want to kill us. There are people from other countries, bad, or maybe from here too, who want to kill us. And they've stopped it. So I'm never, ever, it's just going to be, for example, I is a bad example. Vaccines. I've never, ever said vaccines don't work. No, some may not, but vaccines, the epidemiology, yes. Immunology, yes. Inoculation, yes. Just as an aside, there are people, a friend of ours is an emergency room person, and they say, you're not going to believe this. We're getting whooping cough and all this stuff from a lot of foreign kids who haven't been vaccinated. And we're seeing stuff that we never saw before. See, this is a very good important thing to say. We get all or nothing. We get on a bandwagon, and I mean to tell you, Fauci did this, and therefore everybody is no. We do this. We get into that Candace, and I've heard stuff about Candace this morning. They're saying things about her. She's crazy. She's psychotic. She's evil. It's like, what are you talking about? It's part of this scrum, this pile-on, this hate, this thing. So I'm measured. Let me tell you something. If you ever truly need, you never hear this sometimes, but if you've got a very serious case of kidnapping, the FBI are very good. Brasileira, my good friend, reminds me, trust the field and other workers, but the top is corrupt to the core, especially in this case. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, absolutely not. I don't trust Kash Patel for anything. I don't trust. Now we're getting into the political, so we're getting away from the realm of this. I don't. There are some things about President Trump. I think he does a wonderful job. I don't trust him, anybody regarding Epstein. I'm not going to get a straight answer. I'm not going to get it. No offense. No offense. I don't believe him at all because of a variety of reasons, many of which I don't know. Again, this has nothing to do with this case, but just as an example. Trump might say, I can't release this because we're going to use the evidence about who people, let's say, hypothetically, again, this is not to do with this case, but just as an example. Let's assume they've got some real good evidence that Bill Gates is doing something with somebody dressed up like a woodchuck or I don't know what. And we're going to protect that because we want to use that. We want to use that damning evidence. We want to. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that, who knows? I don't know anything, but I don't trust them. I don't. And we talked recently last night where this poor kid just can't understand this. Why would the president ever want to keep information regarding Butler out of the public realm? Let me give you an example. I'm not saying this is likely. I'm not saying I'm thinking this is going to happen, but let me give you a possibility. Think of it as a script. Think of it as a line from a movie. What if Mossad, everybody loves Mossad, you say Mossad and their ears perk up. What if Mossad said, listen, back off on the Butler investigation. That was us. We want to remind you of something. We're always here, okay? So do yourself a favor. Back off on this thing. Or else we're going to let you know. In my movie, not that I'm saying it, what if there's something about Trump? What if there's some information when he was in the 80s, when he said, I'm not going to run for president? Do you know the stuff they've got on actors and actresses who they just have fallen out of grace? But there are people that are owned. One of the reasons why actors, they know this stuff is the next time they're into a negotiation for a movie. Like I'm seeing Brad Pitt in a lot of kind of crummy movies. Anne Hathaway's in every other movie. What if the reason why you see Anne Hathaway is because we've got information about her? I'm not saying it's true. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of stuff out there that could explain a lot of things. Now, just because I don't trust maybe this story doesn't mean I've lost faith with everything else. It's just a dirty, dirty thing. It's a dirty world. It's an awful world. If you've ever been involved in, speaking of course, domestic, divorce, oh my God, you can't believe these people are. So I don't know. Kash Patel, one of the reasons why I wouldn't be surprised if he was picked because he's so stupid. He's a baby. He's a child. He's a child. He gets petulant. He gets impertinent. He gets angry when you ask him questions. He is a very strange looking young man who I think probably for his whole of his life was feeling very insecure about that. Very insecure. People's looks are very important to people. In the past, I don't know, I'm seeing more pictures of Lara Trump in bikinis that she puts up. Why are you doing this? Why? Because today, to some women, I'm not saying her, but perhaps, this is the only thing that matters. To be hot, to be sexy is the most important thing in the world. And going back to Kash Patel, he has somebody, this country music chanteuse wannabe, and he's taking FBI planes, which are not, it's not necessarily against the law because he cannot travel first class. He cannot, because it also threatens the lives of people on the plane. I don't want to be traveling with the head of the FBI. Do you? No. You take your private plane. Stay off of this. I don't want me to be a target. But if you're going to pick somebody, you want somebody who's very, very insecure. Who has, and this woman is just like Bill Belichick's girlfriend, played him like you can't believe it. And again, we're off of the subject of the trial, but just for a moment, I wouldn't be surprised. Notice how I say that? I'm not saying I know this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Erica Kirk, like so many women since the days of, you probably don't know this, Babe Paley and the Swans, and even in the movie Young George Washington, you should see that. You should see that he has this one woman he's got his eyes on, and she basically wants to make it with the fella from the Fairfax. Women have been finding and looking for rich. Okay, it happens all the time. There's nothing new to this, but we live in a world right now where you have to blend reality. And I would not be surprised if Charlie Kirk was sexually inexperienced. Okay? Who he said he was a virgin. He said this. I'm not going to get into the benefits of that. However, when you withhold something, you can give it greater weight than it is worth. There's no way for Charlie to put something into perspective when he's never been there, seen it. He's a young man. And I wouldn't be surprised if Erica said, oh, I've seen this. Oh, I'm going to show him a thing or two. I'm going to show him a thing or two. Imagine this. Let me just, I don't want to be too graphic, but imagine a 19-year-old man, young man, and a 35-year-old divorcee in their first hookup. You know this lady's going to show him stuff he's never even. It's almost like wrestling. I'm going to show you a hold you've never seen before. I'm going to give you a submission hold. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. So he was played kind of like Kash Patel was, I suspect. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. We have a lot of interesting people here. You've got this Dan Bongina who's going after Tucker Carlson for reasons I don't understand. Weird stuff. Tucker's this, he's crazy. It's always crazy. Everybody's crazy. He's an agent. Oh, this one guy called him a Nepo baby. Now, a Nepo baby is somebody normally in the business whose parents were stars or whatever, not whose parents were, prominent. I guess Tucker's father in the CIA, or believed to be the CIA, or his mother. The term is used wrong, but nobody's going after what Tucker's saying, right or wrong. It's to hurt him. So anyway, this is this Erica. In addition, I believe, as in the case of a lot of people, look at Lara Trump. If Lara, they call her Laura, but it's Lara. Had she not been the wife of Eric, she could have posed all the pictures she wants in her bikini online and nobody would have cared. But they do now. Well, at least it means a lot. What I'm saying is you have to use every bit of information in your impeachment of witnesses. You have to understand why. You have to, if there is a witness, for example, changing the subject a little bit, but I'll give you an example. I truly doubt the official story of Son of Sam. I knew Maury Terry, and Maury Terry was a great reporter. Now, Maury Terry sometimes would like to go out and throw a few back, and he was a great guy. Absolutely fun and life of the party, but he was smart. And he was on David Berkowitz in that story, and he always says it wasn't Berkowitz, but it was a satanic group. And Berkowitz, they told him, if you don't confess, we'll hurt your family or what have you. Anyway, you had some other people too. Joe Coffey, one of the greatest detectives, bar none. He used to, I think one time he had to watch like Jackie Kennedy or something, make sure protect her. Pete Hamill dated her. Joe Coffey, this guy, when you talk to him, oh my God, he was this New York to the bone, as a great Jerry Nachman would say. Okay. Only problem is this. If I said, for example, Detective Coffey, were you not, sir, promoted to Detective God or whatever, first grade or whatever? Yes. There are a lot of promotions, were there not, when Mr. Berkowitz was arrested. Isn't that true? Yes. Don't forget, always ask leading questions or cross-examination. If you don't, what's the point? A lot of people made promotions, didn't they? Yes. A lot of people retired at much greater, higher levels because of this arrest. Correct? Yes. So would it be rather unlikely for them to sit there and say, you know what, on second thought, maybe it wasn't Berkowitz? It's kind of unlikely after people have retired and what it would do to undo the prestige of the NYPD when everybody was looking for this crazed man, when women bought wigs and cut their hair and dyed. I mean, the son of Summer of Sam, it was, oh my. It's rather unlikely for somebody right now to sit there and say, you know what, I think maybe we got the wrong guy. Isn't it? Isn't it, detective? Yes, that's impeachment. So you have to know kind of how things were and are. And when you look at somebody like Erica Kirk, you got to ask yourself, aside from what her feelings are, you have to understand kind of who she is and who she was. Someone asked me, do you believe the system worked for the better in the OJ case? One of the things that people always ask is, does the system work? Do people mean, did the system bring a conviction? No. No, there was not a conviction. It did not work then. But when a jury sits and says, no, we don't think so, then the case works by its very nature. I know that's difficult to say, but there were a lot of problems. Now, in the civil case, he was absolutely found liable. And I was in that little courtroom with OJ, and that was something to behold. But back to Erica. She's going to be there today. And Erica, whether people realize it, loves publicity. Her whole life has been waiting for this. She's ready for her close-up, Mr. DeMille. I have no animosity. I don't hate her. I don't believe she has anything to do with the dispatch or the murder of Charlie. I don't. Or, if you want me to be more specific, I don't think there's any evidence of it. I don't think there's any evidence of anybody from TPUSA. I think there might have been some people who secretly didn't care for Charlie because he was too big for the britches. They thought they could take over. People think crazy things when they are realizing that somebody is much bigger than they are. So I don't know. But I don't believe there's any evidence of this. Could be. Show me otherwise. But what happens is a lot of people find themselves so caught up in the scrum that they just lose their mind. They really lose their mind. They hate Erica. They hate Candace. They hate Tucker. We use that word, hate, and they're crazy and they're evil and they're demonic and they're satanic. And it's this platform. It feeds us. It's like getting everybody drunk and pushing them into somebody in a bar, and we have a bar fight, and we love a scrum. And we have this newest thing now where this one guy, this Andy Wilson, whatever his name is, he keeps calling himself a debater. He's not debating anybody. He's just insulting people. and they're insulting him. It's not debate, but it's this thing. It's this self-styled, and I want you to, let's debate. It's kind of boring. But going today, let me remind you, always pay attention to what is happening in the case regarding the actual facts and not what's going on in the media. I want you to make sure you are subscribed here, and thank you for your wonderful super chats. We probably will be on later. I don't know. It starts at like 8:30, might be 10:30 our time, something. I'm going to be watching this. Make sure you are subscribed. I'm going to be repeating some of the things over and over again because people, this is a very strange concept. Preliminary hearings, probable cause, but eventually you'll get it. It'll just make sense to you. And it's a great time for people to learn kind of how their system works. There is a method to this madness. But just to reiterate, I do not believe there is any evidence unless we are proved wrong. And the moment I'm proved wrong, I will tell you. Not proved wrong, but maybe there's something I just didn't know about. He is not guilty because the evidence cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm not saying he's innocent. We never use the word innocent. Presumption of innocence is kind of a familiar term, but that's not a term that actually deals with this. So make sure you are connected. Please follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Please follow me also on X at Lionel Media. And these folks are just, which is great. I love this because I'm being attacked by children. I mean, they're really not even any good. It's kind of fun. Like I told you the other day, there was this picture. They say, well, that's Candace. I said, well, how do you know that's Candace? Listen, you operative, you possum, we want you to be taken to a pound. Anyway, so it's nuts. It's crazy. Say, just authenticate it's Candace, if you don't mind. Why is she satanic? What do you mean, why? You're a shill. It's like, answer the question. They can't do it. And it's fun. It's really fun. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. It really is fun. They're not very good because if they knew what they were doing, it'd be tough. Because I could tell them a couple of things that will be kind of hard to answer. But remember, I'm on the side of truth. And I'm also, I must admit, I get a little, when people start attacking Candace and Tucker, they don't need my help. But I must say, they sometimes incur my wrath. And it's a great David Banner, remember Banner said from the Incredible Hulk, remember he says, you don't want to see me angry. And also, as Jack Reacher taught us, remember, you wanted this. So anyway, my friends, we'll see you later. Thank you. Subscribe, like this video, subscribe. More coming up later on. Might be noonish, might be 1 o'clock, might be this evening. I'm going to be watching all day. This is the place to watch. I'm going to be very, very, I think, thorough and very, very fair and very, very honest with you. And if for some reason the evidence looks bad, I'm going to tell you. I've got no dog in this. I don't like or care for Tyler Robinson one way or the other, as I didn't care for George Zimmerman and I didn't like Casey Anthony, but I predicted correctly that they would be acquitted. I'll just tell you the truth. All right? Okay. Thank you, my friends. We love you. Don't forget the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.